Welcome to Module 2. We are going to learn a lesson, A Visit to Cambridge, written by Firdaus Kanga. He is an Indian writer and actor who lives in London. He has written a novel trying to grow, a semi-autobiographical novel set in India, and a travel book, Heaven on Wheels. It is from this book that the excerpt, A Visit to Cambridge, has been taken. This is the story of a meeting between two extraordinary people, both of them disabled or differently abled. Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest scientists of our time. He suffers from a form of paralysis that confines him to a wheelchair. When Firdaus Kanga went to Cambridge, he was guided by the guide to visit Stephen Hawking. He called to Stephen Hawking. The assistant told him that he could spare half an hour of appointment with Stephen Hawking. Firdaus Kanga feels that he is fed up with people asking him to be brave, as if he had a courage account with him. He feels that the only thing that makes him stronger is seeing somebody like him achieving something huge, and he was about to meet Stephen Hawking, who had achieved something greater than Firdaus Kanga. Stephen Hawking could speak only by punching buttons on a computer, which speaks for him in a machine-like voice. Firdaus Kanga felt guilty because every time he spoke to Stephen Hawking, he was actually forcing him to respond, and Stephen Hawking was tapping at the little switch in his hand, trying to find the words on the computer with the only bit of movement left to him. Firdaus Kanga says, a first glimpse of Stephen Hawking is shocking because he is like a still photograph, as if all those pictures of him in magazines and newspapers have turned three-dimensional. Then you see the head twisted sideways into a slump, the torso, that is the body, shrunk inside the pale blue shirt, the wasted legs. You look at his eyes, which can speak, still, and they were saying something huge and urgent. He compares a man like a lantern whose walls are worn out, so thin that only the light inside is visible. He says that the body is almost irrelevant and it only exists like a case made of shadows. So Firdaus Kanga believes in eternal souls. He believes that soul is the only truth and body and everything else is accessory. So Firdaus Kanga asks Stephen Hawking, what is the best thing about being disabled? Stephen Hawking replies, I don't think there is anything good about being disabled. So he asks, do you realize that there is much kindness in the world? He says, yes. It was a disadvantage of his voice synthesizer that it could convey no inflection, no shade, no tone. So whatever was said, it was said in a no-tone voice. That is, we could not understand whether it was sympathy, whether it was anger, whether it was happiness. Nothing could be understood. Everything had the same tone. Whatever he said had the same tone. Stephen Hawking feels that the disabled people should concentrate on what they are good at. He thinks that the disabled Olympics are simply a waste of time. After this talk, Stephen Hawking and Firdaus Kanga, they just went to the garden. The garden was as big as a park, but Stephen Hawking covered every inch, rumbling along in his motorized wheelchair. An hour later, when Firdaus Kanga was ready to leave, he did not know what to do. He could not kiss him or cry. He touched his shoulder and wheeled out into the summer evening. He looked back and he knew he was waving, though he wasn't. Watching him, the embodiment of his bravest self, the one he was moving towards, the one he had believed in so many years alone. Firdaus Kanga understood that his journey was over for the time being. Firdaus Kanga from the Heavens on Wheels.